Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Ben Sorensen's Real Country Interviews, bringing you the stars of country.
It's Ben Sorensen here, and this is my Real Country. And you know what graced my desk? This awesome CD. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the Field Brothers' previous work, then you know you haven't lived really, and you've absolutely got no idea about the history of quality Australian music.
Yeah.
And just in case you are one of those people, I thought I'd invite Mr. Paul Field along. G'day, mate. How are you?
I'm really good, thanks. Yeah.
Now, I'm stoked with this album because, I mean, a few moons ago, you did all right with the Cockroaches, and you had a couple of great hits, and a couple of memorable songs that meant that there was quite a bit of longevity with the Cockroaches. And
sorry, mate.
No, that's all right. And you know, I think the Field Brothers album is such a wonderful growth and evolution from those days, but also with a new energy and a new flavour through it.
Yeah, well, thanks. It's that was through the 1980s here in Australia. We played pretty much every pub and club that existed around Australia and toured for a good decade. And as you say, we had some good fun. We had some great success, platinum and gold and all that kind of stuff, and really had a great time. And that came to a natural end pretty much towards the end of the 80s. And I think the industry was changing, as well as we had a family tragedy. One of my children died of sudden infant death syndrome while we were touring, and so that took the wind out of our sails, and we pulled back from touring for obvious reasons. And so that band came to an end, and my brother Anthony went back to university, did a degree in early childhood, combined his educational background with his music background, and created a children's entertainment group called the Wiggles.
I'm not sure I've heard of them.
Yeah, and Johnny and I worked with them. Johnny's a great songwriter. He contributed a lot of music to them, and same with myself. I've helped them out over the years, and so Johnny and I have continued to write and perform in various ways and shapes and forms. But it's not since the Cockroaches days have we actually thought, well, let's actually record an album. And so over the last few years, that's what we've been doing, just putting songs down, shooting a few clips as we go, and we kind of like those crazy neighbours you have in your street who are building a boat in their front yard, and you think, God, when's that ever going to sail,
Well, that's better than the crazy neighbours that build a boat in the backyard and then have to demolish half the house to get it out.
That's very true. so at least we at least have a pathway, and we finally, after a few years, finish this album. But in fact, the time we've had to create this is really good because we've been able to work with a lot of friends and a lot of great people as we've come across their paths. So yeah, I'm really glad it's actually taken a while, and the Field Brothers 1964 is finally out.
Well, I feel like it's been injected with a lot of life and a lot of fun.
Absolutely, everything we do is kind of that way, and we're music has been with us since we were born, really. I'm one of 7 children. All of us were taught musical instruments, and as I said, we've been, recording and performing since we were teenagers. Wow. So, and yeah, when we're in front of a crowd, there's nothing better and nothing more fun than engaging them. And so, yeah, I'm really glad to hear that is sweating through the tracks there.
Definitely. Now, it's been quite a long process, as you said before. Going from the Cockroaches, which had such a almost rock and roll thing going on, and then moving to behind the scenes with the Wiggles, one of Australia's great children's entertainment groups, and then coming back and doing big people's music again.
Yeah.
That's quite a large spectrum of not only of musical genres, but also skill sets as well. And I think that's really a credit to you guys. And it really shows that you're able to embrace the gift that is music, rather than doing anything technically as such. It's more about, I think it's more about feel and more about adaptability, which I think breeds a great album.
Thanks. I think the as you say, you can do different genres over your lifetime, but the common element in a good song is if you're able to strip it down, either sing it a cappella or with an acoustic guitar or piano, and it still sounds good. And that's probably the common element in all the music we've made since we were kids. Is great melody and it grabs you. So the genre you can tailor with different instruments or different people you work with. But I think that's the common element, that the appeal of the song. But yeah, thanks. It's country's always been there with us. The first music we heard and got into was Elvis, and of course, there's real rockabilly country roots there. And then the Stones, and they introduced us to Graham Parsons, Hank Williams, and Chuck Berry and all that stuff. So it's a part of us we haven't fully explored over the years, and it's like, you get that itch, you've got to scratch it,
Yep.
So it's been great, the work we've done with the Wiggles. I was very lucky to have worked with Slim Dusty. We did a remake of Duncan, but no drinking in this version, of course, with Dorothy. It's some great artists over the years. John Fogerty from Creedence Clearwater. We did 2 songs with him a few years ago, and I was so lucky to be able to meet John, go to his place, record with him and film with him. And, he's probably the best rock and roll guitarist, songwriter and singer.
Yeah.
And he's certainly a mixture of pure roots country music with a rock and beat.
Well, you see, I tend to... I've long said that rock and roll and country are like left and right tracks of the same train is running on. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. From Hank Williams, it's not a stretch to Bill Haley.
No, not at all.
And the rest follows, really. Move it on over. Come in last night about 8:30, that kind of stuff. It's rock and roll, really. And it's just with a few different instruments. And so, yeah, they're clearly, the greatest rock and rollers, from Creedence to Elvis and others, have absolutely got that country basis. You go to Memphis at Sun Studios, and the music was made there. Roy Orbison, Johnny Cash, Elvis, Jerry Lee Lewis. Man, oh man, they were the originators of rock and roll, but they're also, their huge foundation stones are in country music.
Well, and I think it's interesting that we talk about this now, because there is a lot of talk about country having once upon a time it was country and western, and then it had that stigma. And now country's cool thanks to many reasons, including all of the work that's being done in Nashville. And there's a lot of talk about there's too many subgenres of country and what's country and what isn't. But, I think the old philosophy of good music is good music.
Yeah.
And the old concept that country, like rock and roll, is just an honest form of music.
Yeah.
That enables you to connect a lot better than what you would with some of the more modern popular music that comes out now. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you, and that's why I think it's hard to define a lot of those genres and what is country and what's not. But it's very organic and made with real instruments, and as I said, can be stripped down to an acoustic guitar, as most good music can. As you know, the spectrum can go from Emmylou Harris and Steve Earle to here in Australia, Casey Chambers, to all sorts of artists that are quite different in what they do, but clearly identifiable as country. But the common thing with all those artists is put them in a room with an acoustic guitar, they can engage you, on an emotional level and a musical level, and it's real. It's real.
Actually, you know what? One of the times in my life that really wowed me was with Troy Cassadaly. I was I was actually at Tamworth at a media call, and he turns up, sits down, lets us know about his new album, and then just starts playing, and I was absolutely mesmerised and captivated by that man's performance and the honesty through that song and the intricate and beautiful way it was written. And, you know, it's really those sort of experiences that really make you love music so much more. And on your album, I noticed you were fortunate enough to rope him into doing a track with you.
Yeah, well, I've worked with Troy a few times here, and I've seen him at, you know, Carol's in the Domain in Sydney, God, for many years. You know, the same thing what you say there. My brother Anthony's a huge Lefty Frizzell fan, and Western Swing, you know, Bob Wills, and so backstage, that's all that Troy and Anthony do is sing these songs that no one else around us knows, you know. And Troy's yet to be stumped. Anthony's about, what about this? What about that? You know, and Troy actually probably is the closest sounding voice I've heard to Lefty Frizzell. It's a beautiful voice, as you know. So yeah, he's a mate from way back, and he's such a lovely bloke too. Yeah, it's great. It was great. He sung on the album. Actually, it was quite recent, just before he went over to Nashville to record his new album. And he flew over there, recorded, then flew back, and I saw him play out at Campbelltown just the other day. But yeah, a great, beautiful singer.
And you also got Shane Nicholson as well, who's not only a great singer but a great producer as well. He's such a talented man. You also roped in Corky as well.
Yes.
I reckon that would have been fun.
It was fantastic. I first met Corky, Diana, at the Slim Dusty Foundation dinner, actually. And as I said, we worked with Slim many years ago, so we went to that, and that's where I was introduced to her. And real bubbly girl, as you know, and beautiful voice. So
wicked sense of humour too.
Oh yeah,
which I think is tops. I reckon she's a great chick, and you know you've got a great mix on the album. I mean, you also did we can't forget Amber Lawrence as well, great independent country music artist, and you know you've just got such a great mix of songs there with not only you boys doing some great work there, but also your guests as well. I'm supremely impressed with it, and I'm also impressed with the music video. If you should see her, because that picked up an Australian Cinematographers Society Bronze Award for cinematography. I think that is the longest award title I've ever seen.
It sounds impressive anyway.
It does. And then when you watch the video clip with that in mind, you go, "Oh yeah, I can see that. I can see that." It's brilliant.
Thanks, and that's kind of the approach to the whole album. Actually, everything we've done, you know, since teenage days, we've always had the approach. We might only get one shot at this, you know, and let's make it the best we can, you know. And with the clips, there's a guy, Borche Damchesky, who's a great DOP here in Sydney, and he's worked on all sorts of stuff. And I've worked with him over the years as well, so I grabbed him, and he shot that award-winning clip, as he did all the others, in fact. And when I was over in the States, I made sure he was there as well, and we shot the two clips over there in Brooklyn, in New York City. The duet with Diana Corcoran, We Don't Talk About Love, and then that's all actually I was going to shoot. The idea I had was, in this duet, why don't I really make quite two different scenes? So we've got this beautiful Diana Corcoran, young blonde-headed woman on a beautiful Sydney beach walking along. Then you have this craggy old bugger over in New York somewhere in the cold, you know, which I knew it was going to be. And I thought, that'd be a good visual difference there. Well, I got what I asked for, because when I landed and it was like -4 and snowing. And I don't know if you can tell, but during the song, my face was literally frozen. I was like I'd had about 8 Botox injections, you know. I could not move, except with the wrinkles, you know. But it actually turned out to be a really interesting clip. And I rang my brother John and I said, "Oh man, we're knocking off the clip and it's great, but I'm nearly dead with the cold. And it's snowing." And he said, "Well, why are you there? Why don't you film some stuff for I Wish It Was Summer Again," which is all about being in a cold environment, longing to be back in beautiful warm Sydney, you know. And so we did, and so in the clips that you get with the album, you'll see them, and thanks. I think they are beautifully shot, and it's pretty cool to be able to have different environments like that.
Well, I think that, again, really, really fortunate, and having that creative mind that you do, because it's not just about being musically creative. I mean, you're visually creative as well, with a lot of the work that you've done, not only with Wiggles, but also with the Field Brothers album and clips. Now, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to ask you, which clip do you want me to play at the end of this?
I suppose the duet with Corky. Yeah, We Don't Talk About Love. It's I've spoken about it. It's great. And also, apart from the footage that we've got with Diana and myself in those two different environments, all the other Super 8 film is our family footage.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and we, my dad was a pharmacist and he used to, sell film and was really interested in photography and so on, and so he shot all this stuff during the '60s, and I thought that adds a nice element to it, throwing that in there as well.
Wow, I love it. So, can you tell me a little bit more about the song?
Yeah, absolutely. There's two songs on the album. I've got to confess to Paul Bloke, but my brother Patrick, our elder brother Patrick, we've kind of used as an influence. And Patrick's very happily married now, but I kid you not, he dated a woman for 11 years before he married her.
Wow.
And,
he just wanted to be sure, mate. He just wanted to be sure.
He's kind of like the classic Irish bachelor, and the funny thing is now, of course, he's been married quite a few years now. I don't know, 5 or 6 years or something. He said, "Why didn't I do this earlier?" But he had a real fear of commitment, obviously, and so We Don't Talk About Love's kind of like him. He spoke about everything with this girl. They got on so well, but the big L word, kind of leave that off the agenda, Yeah. And the song we do with Troy, Paddy Takes a Bride, the same thing. I mean, as I say, our brother's name is Patrick. And it's about a guy, in his kind of later years in life who finally finds a beautiful woman. With Paddy Takes a Bride, which we do with Troy, we based it in the bush, and our grandparents and my dad was from Cobar in northwest New South Wales, and they ran the pub there, the Great Western, during the Depression in the 40s. And we picked a kind of few places to throw in there as well.
Well, I absolutely love the album. Here it is, the Field Brothers, 1964. Absolutely amazing album. If you're a fan of, Aussie rock, if you're a fan of Australian country music, if you're a fan of just good music, then you need to get your hands on this. I'm impressed that it's not only an audio CD, but you also get a DVD with some of these great video clips that we've been talking about. Now it's time to can the yakking and get to this beautiful clip. I Wish It Was Summer Again. This is a duet with the Field Brothers and the beautiful Diana Corcoran. Thanks a lot, Paul.
Thanks, mate. Just that last bit you said, "Wish It Was Summer Again," but it was actually "We Don't Talk About Love."
Oh.
Do you want to pick it up there, somehow?
That's the Sudafed kicking in.
It's all my mucking around with you, sorry.
No, that's right. I'm pleased you told me.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do the end bit again. Well, it is an absolutely amazing album. The Field Brothers, 1964. If you're a fan of great Aussie music, if you're a fan of country music, if you remember the Cockroaches, even if you don't remember the Cockroaches, you've got to get your hands on this album. It is absolutely brilliant. Now, I thought we'd can the yakking and get to this fantastic video clip. We Don't Talk About Love. It's a gorgeous duet with the Field Brothers and, of course, the wonderful Diana Corcoran. Thank you so much, Paul.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And here's the clip.
Talk about the sound of rain,
or a newborn baby,
about the day's parade,
the day's light and shade,
sweet summer shower,
a pretty red flower.
We don't talk about love, we talk about the news at night,
Oh, the taste of wine,
talk about a Sunday drive,
as day fades to night.
another Ben Sorensen Real Country interview. Hear this interview and many more at www.realcountrymix.com.